So we're gonna go by their personal residences, a couple of which turned into hotels. So you guys, right here, this is the start of the Fairmont Hotel. It takes up the whole city block. The Fairmont Hotel used to be the place to stay in San Francisco. They built a lot of hotels south of Market, and with the convention centers, that's kind of been, they focused it. But Nob Hill, the Fairmont, and the Mark Hopkins Hotel used to be the place to stay. That's where presidents stayed when they visited San Francisco up until Bill Clinton. And we'll show you later on where he liked to stay. Fairmont Hotel is probably most famous for, they filmed The Rock here. Yep. The scene where Sean Connery hangs the FBI guy over the side of the building. They filmed that here at the Fairmont Hotel.
Don't be walking. The FBI guy? Walmart.
Yeah. Walmart, that is correct. Yeah, you guys are going to have some homework at the end of this. You're going to have to watch a few San Francisco movies. And you'll be like, you know what? I just went right by there. I know all about that. So this on the right was Leland Stanford's personal residence. It is now the Pacific Union Club. It's a very snooty club. So on the left here, the Fairmont. One of its most famous people who performed here, Tony Bennett, wrote the song I Left My Heart in San Francisco, a song that was originally meant for Frank Sinatra. But he says, hey man, I already did the city stuff. I did New York, I did Chicago, give it to my buddy Tony Bennett. And it became his most famous song, and that's his statue right here. He had a pair of underwear on his head there the other day. I'm glad somebody removed it. None of these statues are safe here.
That's funny.
And this is the Mark Hopkins Hotel here. They have added to it, but that was a personal residence at one time.
Not a small one.
Not a small one, no. Oh, the Crocker Garage, named after Charles Crocker.
They were bankers, right, Crocker?
Mm-hmm. This right here is the Jewel Box House. It's owned by Elise Stevens, who owns the Academy of Art in San Francisco. Several campuses around town. She's made quite a bit of money. It doesn't look like much from the outside. It goes 4 stories down the hill. I worked a couple of parties in there for a catering gig. It's a very cool house. It's very thin, but all these rooms. She's got all these different.
Does she live there? Or
She does live there. Yeah, that's one of her residences.
Right.
And Mr. Huntington's personal residence on the left, the Huntington Hotel now. And place where they honor the railroad barons, the bar, the Big Four, of course, that's not open right now. So right here, this church right here is Grace Cathedral. It's Episcopalian. Yeah, on their doors, they copied Il Duomo in Florence, if anybody's been to Florence. When this is open, also steakhouse. Best steak in San Francisco. Hands down.
What's it called?
Oso. Yeah. They got a bone-in filet mignon that's like this big. I'm not even a filet mignon guy. It is out of this world. Okay guys, we're leaving Nob Hill and we're gonna go into the Tenderloin. There is nothing tender about the Tenderloin.
Yeah.
No sugarcoating it. San Francisco has the worst homeless problem in the United States. It's not even close. Several factors have led to that. It started long ago when Governor Ronald Reagan, before he was President of the United States, closed all the psychiatric hospitals. And then you had the hippie movement. A lot of people taking the wrong substance. Our climate, we're not too even the state of New York, for they were giving their homeless one-way bus passes to San Francisco.
Oh my God. I thought that was like a South Park episode. Was that real?
That is real. So we had anywhere between 8 and 15,000 homeless. Last year, that number is probably about 20. Tenderloin really went unchecked for a couple of months. A couple of factors there. It all started in January, and our public works director, the man who's responsible for cleaning up the streets, Mohammed Naru, he was indicted by the FBI. He was giving out government contracts. He had workers working on his personal residences, not only in San Francisco, but his summer home, that kind of thing. So it doesn't help right before COVID, the main guy who's responsible for cleaning up everything gets indicted by the FBI. Well, it led to other departments, the planning department and also the housing department. They found corruption. And they're actually also looking at our mayor, London Breed. She got a $6,500 car loan from Mohammed Naru last year. There's a couple of problems with that. She is the highest paid mayor in the United States, $323,000 a year, and she has a 24/7 driver with the police. Why does she need $6,500 for a car loan? So the feds were actually looking at her, but then COVID hit and it kind of got swept under the rug. But it's not over yet, so stay tuned on that one. Besides that, we're a very beautiful city. San Francisco has wonderful history and charm, but there's just no getting around this eyesore. The Tenderloin looks a lot better. If you came down here in April, you would have thought this was Beirut or something. I mean, there was tents on both sides of the streets, and people were getting their stimulus checks. There was 8 drug dealers per corner, 2 on each corner, and it was just wide open and rampant. So the supervisor of the district had to actually sue the city to get them to start cleaning up, because people's businesses in the area, they could not operate safely. So what they do in the morning is they'll come in and they'll do power washing, which kind of makes them scatter. Doesn't really solve the problem, it just kind of pushes it around. So we need to get somebody in power here in San Francisco. We need to clean this up. You know, the money is there. They spent $1 billion on the problem. Let's just be smarter with it. And also, it'd be nice if the public works director wasn't taking some of it too.
Right.
So we're going to come into the Civic Center next. We're going to see our city hall where the mayor and the supervisors do their thing. Our city hall is quite beautiful. The mayor, Willie Brown, he was mayor in San Francisco from '96 to 2004. He spent $300 million fixing up City Hall. So they called it the Taj Mahal, and you're going to start to see it here on the right.
City Hall.
Anybody need a water back there? Everybody can hear me?
Yes,
We're all good? All right.
Thank you.
At any point you say, hey man, I couldn't hear you or whatever, just let me know. Happy to double back. Turn that off. So this is our Civic Center. If the Giants or the 49ers win a title, this is where the party ends up and the parade ends up, on the steps of City Hall. The mayor's office. And that is the site of an infamous act. If anybody has seen the movie Milk with Sean Penn, you know what I'm about to talk about? It's where the former mayor, George Moscone, was shot and killed by a former supervisor named Dan White. He shot and killed Moscone, he walked down to the supervisors, and he shot and killed Harvey Milk, who was the first openly gay supervisor in the United States. what happened was Dan White was a retired San Francisco police officer, and he became a supervisor. His wife got multiple sclerosis. He said, there's no way I can take care of my wife on a salary of $9,000. The supervisors now make a little over $160,000. But at the time, they only made $9,000. And so he quit. He went back to go get his job on the cops, and the head police says, we need your voice on that board. You're the only conservative voice. Go get your job back. So he went back to Moscone and says, I want my job back. Moscone said no. So Dan White, after a couple of days, he snuck through one of these windows with his revolver. He walked up the stairs. He confronted Moscone, shot and killed him there, and then shot and killed Harvey Milk. 1978. This is the War Memorial Opera House here on the right. You got Davie Symphony Hall on the left. We are starving for live music. Cannot wait to see live music again. They're starting to do these drive-in concerts and that kind of thing. It's nothing like the real thing though. So. I'm sure you guys have heard about our earthquakes. A little after 5 in the morning, 1906, April 18th, we had a 7.9 magnitude earthquake. That is a large earthquake. But the damage that was done to the city was primarily by fire. 3/4 of the city burned. And the largest fire in this area is called the Ham and Eggs Fire. This lady woke up and by the earthquake, and she said, I better feed my family. She goes to turn on the stove. She didn't realize that the chimney had shifted, created this huge grease fire. We're gonna go by this section. It's just around the corner. It started there, it went all the way to the water.
Wow.
Burned up City Hall, burned up my grandmother's birth records, and everybody else's, and it went all the way to the water. 3/4 of the city burned. Well, the mayor at the time says, we're throwing this big World's Fair in 1915. We can't tell everybody that we just had this huge earthquake and the whole city is decimated. So what he did was he got some of the top artists in the city and he had them draw back in buildings that had burned. And that was a picture that he sent across the wire. Obviously no internet then. So you get away with stuff. Yeah, we had an earthquake here in San Francisco, but everybody's okay. 500 people have passed, sadly. It was more like 5,000 people died, and 3/4 of the city was ruined. So they built up the city in this haphazardly manner, and it came back to bite them a little bit in 1989 when we had our second big earthquake here in the city. We have earthquakes every day, you just don't feel them. Last one I felt, little trembler last year. Didn't even get out of bed. I was like, man, that's just like a 4-pointer. It's not even worth it. So the Ham and Eggs Fire, it started on this corner where you have the red parklet here, the Chez Maman West. So it started there all the way over to the water. So this is Hayes Valley, and this area really had a lot of growth when we had our second gold rush, the dot-com boom, 1998, 99, 2000. These young kids are becoming millionaires overnight, and a lot of people came to San Francisco. Silicon Valley is an hour away. Would you rather live in San Jose, which is actually a bigger city than San Francisco? There's 1 million people there. But it's flat, it has no charm. Now, a lot of people wanted to live in San Francisco. You can look through these trees here, you will see the Golden Gate Bridge. So it is an absolute sweeping view. But we're going to get up close and personal with the bridge later on. That haze is partly from the fires. Luckily, the air is a lot better, but a couple of weeks ago, I know anyone who was around here, you guys, we were smelling a lot of smoke. Guys, we're gonna go into the Haight-Ashbury, where the summer of love happened, late 60s. The hippies, free love, free dope, free food, free everything. Free your mind.
Good on paper. So much
Yeah, we're gonna go by the original jam band, the Grateful Dead house, Jerry Garcia. Jerry is no longer with us, but the Dead and Company have a very popular following. They're called Deadheads. You'll see their stickers, their logos all over the place in the Bay Area. The latest member of Dead and Company is John Mayer. He looks a little goofy up there next to these old guys. Yeah, in the Dead and Company. Yeah, he's been the last couple of years. I saw him play December 30th. Last concert I got to go see at the Chase Center.
Nice.
I would love to meet the person who got the city contract to create these little speed bumps that you can drive right over. Without, somebody made a pile of dough. I had a big laugh about it. Alright, you guys, on the right, the Gray home. The Gray Steps. That was the Grateful Dead home here. And across the street, that's where the chapter of the Hells Angels lives. Quite the party street here. There was a scientist that occupied this home who claimed that he created 1 million tabs of acid, or LSD, during the 60s and 70s.
At home?
I'm sure he had his laboratory set up.
The basement.
Usually that's where these guys do their dirty work. To the left, this pink apartment house, that's where the singer Janis Joplin lived at one point. Famous, her most famous song is Me and Bobby McGee. We are at the corner of Haight and Ashbury. Herbie Haight was the lawyer, and that's where the name came about for this district. It wasn't all peace and love in this area. An infamous man named Charles Manson lived in the area at one point. He had a little garage off Cole Street where he did some recruiting before he went down south. Oh, he was LA after. Yeah, that's where his family did their work, but he recruited some easy minds in this area. A lot of people on dope in the time and drank the Kool-Aid, you could say. Where the term Kool-Aid, unfortunately, originated. Jim Jones had his People's Church around here. He had many followers, went down to South America. Mass suicide, 900 people drank the Kool-Aid. Those who did not, he had his henchmen gun them down. including a congressman. There was a lady that was with the congressman. She was shot 5 times. She pretended that she was dead, but she lived. Her name is Jackie Spears. She's now a congressman for us in the district. Got some strong ladies out of this area.
Yeah.
Nancy Pelosi, Dianne Feinstein, all got their start in San Francisco. So this area right here was a massive graveyard. 1898, the supervisor says, you know what? We're building on valuable land here. Nobody else can be buried in San Francisco unless you're a member of the military. So they dug up a lot of the graves and they moved them down the road to Colma. It's about a 15-minute drive south.
What? They dug it up?
They dug up, probably not all of them. I had a buddy who lived across the street in one of those Victorians. He swore his house was haunted. Yeah, there was almost 200,000 graves in the area, and they said that's it. So the only people who can get buried in San Francisco proper are members of the military, and we'll be going by that cemetery later on in the Presidio. Park to driving traffic, but it's a wonderful place. You could spend a day, even a couple of days in there. But a lot of the museums and that kind of stuff are closed, so definitely check and see what's open if you go. This is one of the least happiest places in the world, the Department of Motor Vehicles. You want to get your license, your registration. They are waiting around the block, and there's a lot of tents in this area. So you're waiting, and there's a lot of homeless in the area. It's not the safest experience. And it definitely wasn't fun before, but now it is horrible. It's $140 to register your car in the state of California, and now you got to get that goofy new license, $82. You know, if you want to travel, you have to have
Real ID.
the real ID. I tell you, the state of California, they come up with some doozies.
You got yours, bro?
Yeah, you had to get it by October to travel, but they've extended that deadline.
I literally had my appointment the day they closed the office.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, luckily I got it in January. I said I'm going to try to beat the rush on this thing.
Not that we travel now, but
Nice little pocket here on Divisadero. A few bars, nice restaurants. One of the more popular places is this place Nopa here on the corner. They're open till 1 in the morning. Not too much late dining in San Francisco. That's something that needs to change. We've only got a few places that remain open late. A lot of our diners have closed down. Even Mel's, which used to be open up 24 hours, you know, they're closing at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock on the weekends. The all-night diners are lacking in the city. So this is Alamo Square. Get your cameras ready on the other side. It's the Full House house. And or the Painted Ladies. Aunt Becky from Full House is in a little bit of trouble right now. She's in the big house for a couple of months.
What? Really? What happened? What'd you do?
She and her husband bribed a member of USC to get their daughters into school. They paid $500,000 to get into a school that's $45,000 a year anyways. And they said she was a member of the crew team. The girl doesn't even look like she can pick up an oar.
Oh my god.
So there is the Full House house or the Painted Ladies.
Baba, take picture of and then send it to my phone, Baba.
Here, take it.
We're gonna let this guy go by. Come on, dude. Go around. Alright. Yeah, back a little bit so you can take a picture. Ghetto, but it wasn't one of the nicest neighborhoods in San Francisco. And then the mayor at the time, late 60s, early 70s, says no more high rises. Tore down these huge traps for crime. Movies and shows have been filmed in this area. We're gonna go by the Mrs. Doubtfire house, second, and Robin Williams' place. This is St. Dominic's Church here, a Catholic church. We'll be passing a couple of gas stations. Our gas is the most expensive in the nation. We have the very high emission standards, and our refineries, they just closed the nearest one to us in Vallejo. So there's only a few refineries. That's a long way to get your gas. You talk to these other people from around the United States. Yesterday, the people from Wisconsin say they pay $1.98 a gallon. We pay anywhere between $3.50 and $3.80 a gallon right now. You're going to start to see some really nice homes. And then we're going to see the creme de la creme, the Gold Coast, or Billionaires Row. So as we come up here, I see this tall apartment building directly ahead. At the very top, that penthouse has a panoramic view of San Francisco. And it's occupied by the lady who was the #2 in the clothing company Esprit, which used to be a big deal. You don't see it so much anymore. Yeah. But she lived up there, and Mr. Bill Clinton, when he came to town, that's where he would go. I'm not sure if Hillary was with him every time. This is Alta Plaza Park here on their left. If anyone saw the movie Copycat with Sigourney Weaver, they filmed some up there. But part of your homework, you gotta watch Dirty Harry, the Dirty Harry series. Not so much for the acting, but for the views of San Francisco. But Mr. Clint Eastwood was born in San Francisco. Some beautiful views, as you can imagine, from these homes.
See that kind of picture? Very good.
This brick home right here, one of the starters of Nintendo.
Oh, cool.
Who lives there? I don't think he lives there anymore. This home right here belonged to former Mayor Frank Jordan. He served from 92 to 96. He was running against Willie Brown. He was losing in the polls. He says, I better do something dramatic. So he decided to do a live broadcast from his shower with two other radio disc jockeys. Didn't really go over so well for him. He lost handily.
Why is someone in a public office ready to have a home like that?
People do crazy stuff to get into office, as we definitely are going to witness for the next couple of months. I think it's going to get a little uglier. On the right, you have the Italian consulate here, but some of the most beautiful homes. They used to be homes, but now they're schools. The Convent of the Sacred Heart. This is an all-girls grammar school. Part of the reason we got to do all these tours. Dylan's little girl goes here. Luckily, his wife is a teacher, so they get a huge discount. But it is $40,000 a year to go to this grammar school. This is an all-girls high school convent. Also 40,000. This middle one.
It's like college.
And this brick building, that's an all-boys grammar school. It's 35,000. Big discounts.
Yeah.
So this home right here used to be known as the Flood Mansion. During the gold rush, it was 99% male. Well, a certain group of ladies said, well, we're probably going to make some money off these miners. So you had a lot of, well, you could say the women of the night came to San Francisco. The Flood Mansion was the fanciest of all the brothels, and that's where the mayor went and all that stuff. So now it's an all-girls high school.
Oh, that took a turn.
It did. So, luckily we don't have snow in San Francisco, but we did have the X Games here in 1999. They put fake snow down these 3 hills, and people were jumping it with their snowboards. I came down and saw it. It was pretty cool.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah.
On your left, Jennifer Love Hewitt, the Party of 5 house.
Oh.
Don't ask me about the show, I never saw it. But the one that everybody wants to see is coming up on the corner. We will stop on the adjacent corner so you can get a picture. This corner house is the Mrs. Doubtfire house.
Yeah, we like to see that one.
Yeah, I'm going to stop here on this corner so you guys can turn back and take a good look.
The blue one, right?
Yep, this one right here on the corner. I like the layer gray or whatever it is. So, when Robin Williams passed away, let me turn a little bit more. When Robin Williams passed away, there was candlelight vigil, a lot of flowers, people left notes and whatnot there. You guys get some? You okay?
Yeah, thank you.
And it wasn't tough to go to work for Mr. Williams when he was filming that, because he lived right here at 2417 Broadway, the White House. He lived here with his first wife, and then that's where he met the nanny. She became wife number 2.
Oh, wow.
Celebrity life.
Yeah, seriously.
Robin Williams was a very nice man. His son was 4 years younger than I was. We went to the same grammar school. I got to see Robin Williams a lot. He was always very kind to people, would sign any autograph.
That's awesome.
But they say these comedians can get kind of dark. And he also had some brain issues too, for sure. Oh, a very famous movie back in the day was Bullet with Steve McQueen. Very famous for its car chase scene around San Francisco.
Does it film here?
They filmed it here, they filmed it all over the city, they even filmed it in Marin, they patched in different things to make it seem like it was just one chase, but
Right.
all over the city they filmed it. And on the right, this brick building belongs to Nancy Pelosi. You can see the cameras. She is not here because the black Suburbans are not here. The Secret Service is always protecting her.
Really?
So when she's in town, one Suburban remains here, and then a couple will travel with her.
Baba, which
She-
building?
This one. Which
The
building?
which one?
Yeah, this brick one here on the corner. Yeah. Nancy got in a little trouble last week over the hair salon. What a bunch of
Oh, that one
baloney.
is San Francisco, right?
Yeah, it's only 4 blocks away, the E Salon.
She said it's set up for her.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Wait, what happened in this hair?
So this lady said you can come, and then she sold the videotape to Fox News, and she went on and
Without face masks.
said I absolutely didn't set her up. She totally did, and the lady's just looking for 30 seconds of fame. It's ridiculous.
Oh, really?
It's gonna cost her though. I mean, people like she's already getting death threats and all this other stuff.
What?
This is a dog house.
So this is the Gold Coast Billionaires Row. Coming up on the right, this brick home belongs to Sir Jonathan Ives. You might say, well, who the heck is he? Well, you guys are taking pictures with it because he invented the iPhone.
Oh. Hindi pinatan ka bababa. Oh, take a picture of this brick.
2790?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Sir
What's his
Jonathan
name? I
Ives.
don't know.
Sir Jonathan Ives. The iPhone.
He became Sir is British or what? Is he?
What's that?
He became Sir because he's British or what?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very nice city.
And coming up on the right with this metallic garage.
Sounds great on.
One of 5 homes he owns in the Bay Area. The 13th richest man in the world, Larry Ellison, lives here. Oracle software. He's done pretty well for himself during this pandemic. I think he's moved up the list. This right here, the original richest people in all the world, the Getty family, Texas oil money. So it doesn't look like much. It goes 4 stories down the hill. It's a 6-story home. The Getty family is very nice. But the grandfather was not so nice. And if you saw the movie All the Money in the World with Mark Wahlberg and Christopher Plummer, you found out that the richest man in the world installed a payphone in his house. If you wanted to call from the richest man's house, he had to pay for it.
That's how he became rich, you know.
That's right.
Yeah, man.
This place right here on the left belonged to former President Herbert Hoover, former President of the United States.
Take a picture of that.
They put it on the market for $70 million and they only got 55. Poor them.
Who bought it?
I don't know.
Why? You buy that?
That's cost.
What do you do with that?
To the right, if anyone saw the movie Basic Instinct with Sharon Stone, Michael Douglas, Sharon running into her house, that was filmed right here, but the actual scenes in the house were filmed 2 hours away in Carmel.
It's okay. So now I took a lot of pictures. Very nice.
So we are going to go into the Presidio. Presidio means jail in Spanish. And this is where the fort was for first the Spaniards, then the Mexicans, and then the United States. During World War II, everybody expected Japan or Germany to hit San Francisco. There was a large military concentration here in the Presidio.
San Francisco, Presidio. I remember once we came to this year.
So the Army was here until the late 80s and then they turned it back over. But it is still federal land, but anybody can live in the Presidio now, for a price, of course. So thousands of years ago in San Francisco, they said the wildlife would rival that of the Serengeti. They have found fossils from all different types of animals here in this area. The craziest thing you'll see these days now, though, is like a mountain lion. They actually trap, and you will see some scaffolding underneath. That's where they are painting the bridge year-round.
Oh, really?
Yep. Yeah, it's just a primer paint, you know, so you gotta keep going. So thousands and thousands of years ago, these land masses were right next to each other. And it created this huge waterfall here. They said it would be as big as Niagara Falls in New York. Current is very strong by the base of the bridge. This is kind of typical of this area, but this is the most amount of people I've seen here in 6 months.
Yeah, there's a lot of people here today.
Actually, kind of a nice to get somewhat back to normal.
Yeah, what's the weather around? Like,
Yeah, I saw like a high of 87 is going to be here today.
that's nice.
San Franciscans are wimps though. Anything over 75, they're like, oh, it's so hot.
It's true.
And then these people come from other parts of the United States, like, you guys don't know how good you have it here. You get that muggy heat on the East Coast. 100% humidity, not fun.
Not here.
We're gonna get out here, guys. There is a public restroom. I suggest that you use. That's a lovely place to stop, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, stop in the middle of the road.
Yeah, during the summer, it's like this every day, but more people, typically, in this area. Watch your feet, honey. So there's the public restroom right there, you guys. To the left.
I might need to.
Yes, I would definitely suggest use it. The next chance you'll get is about 15-20 minutes.
Okay. Yeah.
The unfortunate part of COVID is it closed down a lot of the public restroom areas along our stops. So I apologize if you're like, is this guy ever gonna stop?
I got you.
Let's be a little assertive here since nobody wants to do anything. We're a little luckier than last Sunday. When we got right here last Sunday, there was a huge Black Lives Matter protest and Trump people clashing. It looks like somebody has come back. It looks like there's a little banner right there. But they were stationed right there. They closed down this one lane here of the bridge, and there was 100 cops. You guys see this gray divider right here. It's operated, we'll see the machine at the end, and at the other end, it's called the road zipper. This is 3 years old. It used to be little yellow cones that separated the lanes. They like to accommodate for the flow of traffic. 4 coming into the city, 2 going out, then they reverse it in the afternoon. As you can imagine, before that, there's quite a few accidents. That has definitely saved a few lives, for sure. So after September 11th, Golden Gate Bridge was picked as a top 10 site that might get a terrorist attack. So you used to have soldiers on both sides of the bridge with their firearms ready. It wasn't really the best look. So luckily they don't do that anymore. You bike on the left side and you walk on the right. Yeah, you had a sea of people right here, and we came on just as the Trump protesters were coming over. There was about 500 of them, and there was one guy in the other lane on a bullhorn, kind of like coaching them on. So the Black Lives Matter people were right here. The Trump people were coming to clash with them.
That's, wow, it's like a war scene. That's interesting.
I think they're going to orchestrate a lot of that in the next couple months.
Wow.
So my guess is this traffic is due to the Labor Day weekend. People kind of want to get away, go to Napa. Tomorrow they got off. We'll drive back early Tuesday. And or they can work remotely wherever they are. Our traffic is the second worst in the nation. Number one is LA. As you guys know from your time down there, I'm sure. The reason why, we're a small city, 7 by 7 square miles. There's 5 million people in the Bay Area.
Right.
And 2.2 million come in Monday through Friday for work when it's not COVID. And then the real culprit is Uber. 40,000 additional Uber cars on the road every day. A lot of people take Uber in San Francisco. The company did start here. Also Lyft as well. Uber and Lyft cars, you'll get them as far away as LA. They'll come up here because this is where the money's at. So our traffic went through the roof. We went to number 2 in the nation. You guys could not have picked a better day to go over the bridge.
You're so fortunate, right?
Very lucky. A lot of the time there'll be heavy fog. Sometimes it's so thick, like last week, you can only see about 15 feet in front of you.
Oh.
There are elevators in these shafts. Take workers up to the top. So again, it's 300 feet from this platform here down to the water, 700 from the top. These are the Marin headlands over here on the left. Once we go underneath this part of the tower, we'll be in Marin County, the second richest county in the United States. Number 1 is Westchester in New York. But typically, the fog is so thick right there. You should just go sail right by it. Old Sir Francis Drake, when he went around the corner in the 1500s, he missed this Golden Gate Straits and the San Francisco Bay. As did Gaspar di Portola. He was looking for where Sir Francis Drake landed, and he went by it twice. Third time, when he landed in Sir Francis Drake Bay, he sent a hunting expedition. They came up over the mountains. They said, hey man, we gotta go check out this place. So Portola is the one who gets the credit for discovering the San Francisco Bay, but of course the Native Americans were here first. As you can see, it's pretty easy to shimmy your way up onto the pipe. And if you get up there, you got 2 hand railings that can carry you all the way to the top. There's one little gate there that you have to climb around, but for the most part, you can walk right up to the tower. And that's what several people have done. And luckily, a few have walked down safely and returned. Oh yeah. You gotta be awfully brave. Or on some kind of substance.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys gotta watch A View to a Kill, the James Bond with Christopher Walken as the bad guy. And the end scene where he's on the blimp on the Golden Gate Bridge. I don't want to spoil it for you. Another movie you guys gotta see, Escape from Alcatraz with Clint Eastwood. You guys got some homework to do. I'm expecting book reports in a month. It's also out in that area, the Golden Gate Straits. That's where the Grand Princess, the cruise ship, was stuck out there during quarantine. She came underneath this bridge after 3 weeks sitting out there. And they had to quarantine for another 2 weeks over at the Oakland base. Yeah, the ship. Yeah. It's going to be tough for the cruise ships moving forward. Yep.
Fingers crossed for the vaccine.
Huh?
Fingers crossed for the vaccine. No. Gone already. Amila,
Yeah.
Take advantage of that the ship sailing, going to the bay or
Heading on out. It's probably headed down to Long Beach where we'll load up. Oakland was the 3rd busiest port in the world. Now it's 7th. Long Beach has taken a lot of the trade.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Port City.
So you guys, with the fog, typically you would hear there are fog horns. Well, modern technology, they got radar. They don't need to sound off the foghorn. Well, San Franciscans and people of Marin were so used to the foghorn, and they loved it so much, they complained that they stopped using the foghorns. So it's now a maritime law, you have to use the foghorns. We'd like to hear the horns.
It's actually pretty cool.
It's like our white noise.
Interesting. I felt like when it first came out, people were complaining, and then once you got used to it, you're like, wait, I actually this
Yeah.
I want it.
I mean, I love the fog, but I feel for some of the visitors when they can't see a darn thing.
Yeah, this is
Part of the charm.
It is. About 10 years ago, some guy not from San Francisco got on Twitter and started calling the fog Carl with a K. Do not call it Carl. We don't call it Carl. It's the fog. All right? So stick with the locals. Don't call it Carl.
You can follow Carl on Twitter, though.
You gotta unsubscribe, bro. You're off of it. Yeah, we had our PGA championship, the golf championship, about a month ago here, and of course it fell on a weekend where it was cold, it was miserable. Of course, the following week it's sunny.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know who was the guy who said, "Oh, let's reschedule it in August in San Francisco." Obviously, not a man who knows our weather patterns.
They had like 1 day of sun, I think the first day.
Yeah, but for the most part, it's pretty miserable.
Yeah.
I live 5 minutes away from the course, so I can definitely tell you it was not nice on Saturday and Sunday.
I cannot believe it's only 7 miles, 7 by 7. Like, that's insane.
Yeah, it's a small little town.
But, there's so much.
Yes, there is.
That's ridiculous.
So you guys, over to the right, you got Angel Island. You can get a little permit, and you can park there overnight. Put up a tent, do all that stuff.
oh, it's nice there.
Yeah. A lot of people will do day trips over to Angel Island. They'll barbecue and come on back home.
Oh yeah, we can come back next
I think
day.
they stopped the ferries there, though, no?
They did stop the ferries right now. You can't do it. The Sausalito ferry doesn't run right now. It's very frustrating.
It is.
But they just opened up the Alcatraz ferry, like, go figure. Like when people, it's going to be more dangerous. You know, I don't get it. Everybody wants to go to Vista Points. And they want to go into Sausalito. So we're going to get a little traffic, but it should open up.
What is the name of the city?
Sausalito.
Yeah. Ready, ready, ready.
Right there.
15 minutes will be there.